Would he play you the song first, though, and say, this is the riff?
Yeah, here's a riff. Or he'd have these riffs, and he'd just kind of start playing it, and we would just say, oh, okay, that's a cool riff, and I'd listen, and then I'd have an idea like, well, this is what this song, I'd have an impression of the song, and like, well, this is what the song needs. It's not, this is not me as like a bass player, me playing bass. This is what I want to do for the song, or what the song is demanding of me or asking. It's all for the song. You know, I would just follow along on it, or like, well, you know, shouldn't necessarily follow what the guitar is doing. So I'd listen to the vocal melody and just kind of triangulate on, like, play off the vocal, and then you get a bigger sound that way. That's what my advice for bass players is, like, you don't have to follow the guitar player. Well, the kick drum is your boss, right? Boom, the kick drum's the guy, right? Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
But if you listen to the vocals, you can pull things out of the vocals, or you can play off the vocals, you know, and then it just kind of comes together. Then if they didn't like it, they would shoot me dirty looks.
One of my favorite things that you do is you'll go and play the fifth in the bass on certain chords. Like in that song Dive I just played, in the chorus of that.
Oh yeah, that one note that he plays.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Oh, I remember that. See,
Yes, that one note there is so key.
I did that in Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's playing a power chord. Like with a power chord, you have it like, say, on your finger on an F.
Yeah.
And then your other finger's on like on a C, right? I played the fifth, and so it's just like, well, let's just make it meaty.
It makes it sound so heavy for that split second.
Yeah.
You expect the bass line to go following up, and
right.
it actually jumps down for a moment.
I'm
it
a
really
hack
does.
magician. So
song.
I have the same tricks, and I have this little bag of tricks. I do the same tricks over and over again. They work, so I just do them over and over again. Hey kids, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Hey, ooh, wow. Like this one here, look at these cards. You know,
Okay,
like,
so this song
it's all
is
an illusion.
Would he come in and say, let me play you this new idea I have, and then just play it by himself and sing it? Never.
He wouldn't say, let me play this idea. He would just walk up to the mic and just start banging something out that he'd already been developed, right? Yeah. And so it'd be like, probably start singing on a plane, and I'd be like, all right, then I would play, and then I just started playing some bouncy bass to it, like it made sense, and it just made sense. And if they didn't like it, like they'd get dirty looks. What are you doing over there?
Where'd you learn to play?
Well,
or did you?
What happened was I just started hanging out by myself, and I got my mom to buy me this cheap electric guitar for 40 bucks, and like an amp for 20. And I just started playing, and I learned how to play. I bought this book, like a full guitar book, but it was an electric guitar, so I was like learning all these like chords, you know. And this guy comes over one day with an instruction box and shows me power chords, you know. And I'm like, no way, that's the hokey way to play. That's so easy. But no, that's it. That's rock and roll. Power chords. So I started grinding out power chords. And when I met Kurt is when I made the transition over to bass. And I realized that I like playing bass a lot more. Because like you can spell, the bass is spelled B-A-S-S. But you can also spell it B-A-S-E. Because it's like the bass of the song, man. And it goes with the drums, and it just can keep the song going while maybe the guitars can go off. And you know, when I play guitar and bass, I'm like really, really traditional. Like I do like a lot of just like John Paul Jones type, that late '60s like scale,
blues-based scale,
blues scale, just kind of walking, a lot like what John Paul Jones did, or like a lot of the heavy bands from the late '60s did. Jack Bruce and Geezer, all those guys.
Do you try to hold some of the middle since you're only a trio? Sort of be both bass and rhythm guitar, or do you sort of shine off the rhythm?
I do that a lot because I like the tone on my bass. It's like a really high tone.
But a lot of treble?
Yeah, so it kind of meshes with not a lot of treble. Yeah, it is a lot of treble. A lot of treble. It's just like the EQ just goes from the bottom end cranked and goes like low, mid, and way back up to the high end. Just goes up.
Oh, that's an interesting way to set it.
Yeah, it's just kind of just one little curve.
Serious punch.
Yeah. And it when you got a lot of that high end and you got that low end really thumping, it's kind of a rich sound. it's not like a warm, bassy sound. It's more like a rich sound, and it meshes with the guitars. You know, what I was thinking about doing is like taking some of that high end off and getting some of that warm sound. You know, just so that bass doesn't mesh with the guitar as much. It'll drop down more, and it's not going to be any louder than it usually is, but it's going to be more distinctive. Because you get in those same frequencies with the guitars, and they're fighting each other, and, you know.
My approach was making things bigger and louder because we were a trio. We had an intense singer and heavy drums, and I had to figure out how to fill things out a little. I have a few tricks that I used over and over. One of them is that there's a time to follow the guitar riff, but the bass is not just a bastard stepchild of the guitar, and as a bass player, you have to know that. The kick drum is the boss, and you have to follow it. But then you can riff off the guitar riff, or riff off the vocal melody, which a lot of times is the hook. And then, if you can find the bridge between the guitar riff and the vocal melody and the rhythm of the kick, then you can pull something off that brings another dimension to the music that isn't just the bottom of the guitar. That's one of my tips. Listen to the vocals. If you can riff off the vocals, then you're on to something. I was lucky because I had Kurt, who was a great lyricist, and he was great at writing melodies, so it made doing that easy for me. And then I had Dave on drums, and he made the rhythm part stick. I just had to find my place between the two of them within the song. You always have to search for what the song needs. Do it for the song, and don't do it for yourself, or to showcase your chops. You can transform a song with subtle little changes and rhythmic things if you are mindful of the song. Just go for the song, and then it'll all come together and you'll be successful. Some players just do math and don't do music. They try to squeeze so many notes in, and sometimes it works. A lot of it is visceral too. The bass can change the whole personality of the song. I've learned that countless people have learned to play bass from listening to those records. They're always coming up to me and saying, "Those records taught me how to play." They're simple melodic lines, which is what you need when you're starting out. My unsolicited advice for bass players is that you're not chained to the guitar, you're chained to the kick drum, right? But listen to what the vocal melodies are doing. If you can accentuate that and play off that, you're adding a dynamic to the band and to the song, and if you're lucky and it comes together, it sounds big. I had lots of room for the bass, and Nirvana had these hard, soft, loud, quiet dynamics, which required lots of octave parts and parts that were higher on the neck. I'd go down to that E string when the big chorus came. Boom. In On a Plane, the E string is drop tuned to D, so I rotated between the D string and the drop D. There you go. It was a real simple riff that the vocals were wrapped around, so I wanted to do something to bounce it up a little bit. I never did any funk playing myself. I come out of the school of John Entwistle and Geezer Butler, and of course Paul McCartney. Those are the big three for me, along with Mike Mills from R.E.M. I just played the rock bass without any kind of funk in it. I remember in the early 80s when the Chili Peppers were raging, you'd have these dudes with the 5-string and the Gallion Kruger amp. I would play through an Ampeg with a 2x15-inch cab, old school.